What up, y'all? It's Donnie here from Driven Dreams. In today's video, a little controversial topic, but it's gonna be 12 tools I think you should buy when beginning to work on your car. And just a little heads up, this is for your average dude, say you're in high school, out of high school, whatever, you want to start working on your own car, want to do it yourself, want to learn a little bit. These are 12 tools I think would be great for you because honestly, to me, it makes a huge difference if you're like a mechanic versus a regular dude and you're using your tools every day. You're putting a lot more wear and tear on them. Like for me, for the light services I do, I've had zero issues with like AutoZone and Harbor Freight tools. They get the job done just as well. But to kick it off, we're going to start with a clip puller. This one I really like. I got it at Harbor Freight, paid like $10 for it. This I like over the other ones that are just kind of have that little bend and you kind of wedge them out. This, way better. You just slip it behind the clip and squeeze. And it pulls it perfectly straight out. It won't break the clip or anything. I mean, if it's super old, in my case, they may break, the little head may break or whatever, but pulls it out really clean, really nice, and definitely for $10, worth the money. Next up on our list, we got a oxygen sensor socket. Anytime you're doing any exhaust work, you need to pull an oxygen sensor out, or even in like a case like mine, you're gonna swap out the exhaust, you're gonna need an oxygen sensor socket to pull those oxygen sensors out. And in most cases, you're probably wondering, why do I need it? This has a little slit right here. It's basically just a regular 7/8 shallow, but it has a slit so you can fit the wire of your oxygen sensor through here so you're not bending it up and messing it up, and you just pull it straight out. Worth it. Gonna need one of these doing anything with your exhaust. Next up on our list, something simple but overlooked, a pick. Anytime you need to pull an O-ring out, need to do a little bit of like scraping off or anything, you could use it for different purposes, but picks are definitely worth it. This was a set of like 2 for like $6 at Harbor Freight. Really good, and I really like these. Comes with the different bends. This has a 90-degree, the straight. The other one kind of has like the little hook, and especially like in some cases where you need to get like a spring on for like drum brakes or anything like that, you can wrap this around the spring and get those springs on really easy. Definitely gonna need a pick for sure. These, we're gonna put them together. These, a good scraper and a good set of brushes, like wire brushes. The scraper, you're gonna need both of these doing any sort of work, like swapping out gaskets. You need a new water pump, you need a new thermostat. You always want to replace the gasket with the new one. Those tend to use paper gaskets, and after so much time, they fall apart. And it is a pain when they are stuck on there and you can't get them off. And that's where this comes in handy. It's just a little razor blade. You just put light pressure, scrape against it lightly, and it pulls the gasket off like nothing. Because if not, you'll be sitting there fighting to get that thing off. And then that's where you come in with this afterwards, and you just lightly brush against it. I like this little plastic one because it won't scratch up the surface, especially the aluminum. You don't want to mess the mating surface up, and you will cause leaks. So definitely a good set of brushes and a good scraper to pull any of that excess gasket material off, or like RTV, anything like that. You'll need these two together. Next up, kind of overlooked as well, but a magnetic pickup tool. These things come in so clutch when you need them. In my cases, I've dropped bolts in spark plug holes, in weird spots in the intake. I've dropped them in the engine bay where you can't find it. These come in handy, and I really like this one for like $10. I got this thing. It moves up and down so you get different lengths when you need it, short when you need it. And this thing is like really strong. This thing can hold up this oxygen sensor socket, and this thing has some weight to it. Like, this is a strong magnet, and it gets anything out that it holds on to. Definitely worth the money for this. Next up, these, we're gonna clump them together as well, but good set of pliers. You know, these come in different shapes and sizes. You're gonna need them for different purposes. You know, spring clamps, stuff like that. You need to hold the bolt or something. You need to pull stuff out. You know, these handy every time. I like these, especially for those spring clamps. They have a little bend for them. These get the job done every time, and I like that these are kind of long because you can get, like, for the lower radiator hose and stuff like that, these get it done almost every time. So, you know, like I said, these kind of come in different shapes and sizes. You know, you kind of get what you need. What do you think would be best for you? And I like these ones because these can come in different, these open and close, so you get the different sizes for when you need it. But definitely invest yourself in a good set of pliers. Each of these were like 10 bucks a piece. Not that expensive, but worth the money. Next up, something kind of no one really talks about, but definitely worth it. For 20 bucks, this UV light. This thing is really good for chasing leaks, oil leaks, coolant leaks, AC leaks, anything like that. They do sell like the AC rechargers with the dye in it. You could get that. But in cases of cooling systems and stuff like that, engine oil, you need a bottle of this. This is the coolant dye. It comes in the green, and the engine oil one comes in like a yellow bottle. But basically you just dump this in. It's safe to use. You just drive the car normally, and it basically just gives a fluorescent tint to it in a sense. And so when you hold your UV light up to it, you can find all your leaks. You basically trace from top to bottom, and you will see the little green glowing on it, and you will find your leaks way faster. This is definitely worth it, especially like in some cases you have engine oil everywhere. This is definitely worth the price. Next up, a good hammer. You're gonna need to hit things out, stuff gets stuck, whatever. A good hammer, definitely worth the money. For I think like 15 bucks or whatever, probably like 10 bucks honestly at Harbor Freight. This one, I really like it because it's all metal versus your wood style. I've had the one where the chisel kind of breaks up top and the hammerhead pops out. This, no issue. It is all one piece. You can hit this thing all day and it will not break on you. Invest in a good hammer. And in my case, I would say invest in something like this where it's all one piece, all metal. Next up, a good breaker bar. Breaker bars, you're gonna need them to crack bolts loose. You know, stuff gets stuck, whatever. You need the extra leverage. Your ratchet isn't enough. You know, certain things like crank bolts, whatever, you need the extra leverage to get stuff loose. You know, invest in a good breaker bar. This one was like 20-25 bucks at AutoZone. Can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but definitely worth it. You know, this thing will break most bolts loose that I need it to. And if it doesn't, you can always get a jack handle at the end of this for a little bit of extra leverage if you have the space, and it will get it done almost every time. Cannot recommend a good breaker bar. Next up, a good pry bar. You're gonna need a pry bar for multiple things, but in my case, I needed it like the Miata, the control arms. Basically, the shocks sit in the middle of the control arms, and if you ever want to replace those shocks, you have to get a pry bar, and you have to wedge the control arms down because they're like spring loaded. They will bounce back up, and you got to wedge them down, and you got to like snake the shock from in between the control arms. And in this case, really helpful, makes the job so much easier and so much faster. Invest in a good pry bar, especially, you know, you need to get bolt joints out and stuff. You're gonna need a pry bar. Definitely worth the money. Like I said, like 25 bucks for this one. Definitely worth it. And I saved this one for last because this is kind of a tool set, but you are definitely gonna need a good socket set. This one I got from AutoZone. This was like the very first thing that I got, but I paid like 80 bucks like pre-COVID for this thing, but this thing worth the money for sure. Like for the 80 bucks or whatever I spent on it, this thing gets the job done almost every time with just about the tools alone in it. Like this thing is really nice. I like it because it's lightweight. It's not that heavy. You can hold it like a briefcase, carry it wherever you need to go, leave it in your car, whatever you need it for. But this one, really nice. You get your Torx bits over here. You get your flatheads, your Phillips, all the stuff you need. In this case, you get this little handle right here with this coupler. And this coupler right here holds all of these up here. So you basically get your screwdriver with any attachment you need. You know, you get your own little breaker bar. Sometimes this isn't enough. That's why I bought the bigger one. You know, you get your 3/8 drive ratchet. Get your 1/4 inch ratchet over here. You know, get your extensions right here. You get metric and standard sockets, both in the deep and the shallow. Really nice for that, since you get both, and you get anything from a 4mm to a 19mm, all the way to a 5/32 to a 13/16. This will work on any light surfaces, and it has just about everything you need. Cannot recommend this enough, and I say just alone this set is worth it. I know we probably missed a few in this episode, but this was just a couple 12 tools I think you guys should get when starting to work on your car. Let me know what y'all guys think. Anything I missed, put it in the comments below. But hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.